So Andrew,
Yes.
on Friday evening, you sent me a text message saying that your band, In Our Time, was playing a show
Yes.
at a library.
I'll correct you right there. It was Saturday.
Oh, Saturday.
But I did. The lead singer, Christian, told me a long time ago we had a show at a library. So I was like, yeah, that's cool. I never played at a library before.
So, how did you get this gig?
Well, Christian and Evan plays bass.
Right.
And Christian plays rhythm guitar and does most of the vocals. Work at the library.
Oh, okay.
And so
You're just like, hey, can our band play here?
no, I think I'm not too familiar with it, but I think the library has like from what it appeared, they had like an art evening
Right.
called Second Saturday, I think it was, or something like that. And it's where like they have a lot of local artists play their pieces and apparently have bands play as well. So,
Why don't you walk us through what happened?
well, we had rehearsed an hour and a half, 2 hours before we were going to play. Usually we do that. We're kind of
Right.
a last minute band. And when we're there, Christian, again the singer rhythm guitar player, mentions that we're playing inside the library, and he's smiling while he says it. So I think he's kidding. So I'm like, no. That's crazy. No, like not inside the library. And he's like, no, we're playing inside. And so we get there and start unloading our gear. And the library director is showing us where to set up. And it's right in front of the customer service loss counter. So it was at that moment I realized we weren't playing out the library. We were playing inside the library.
Between all the bookcases and...
Some of the librarians moved a Diary of a Wimpy Kid cutout so I could put my amp up. So yes, it was. We were literally playing right as you walk in, next to the checkout counter. I'd never played inside a library
Nice.
before, so yeah, it was an interesting experience.
Yeah. It was just you guys on the bill?
Yes. Well, again, like I said, I saw a bunch of pieces of art. I was actually didn't realize it, but I was leaning against a painting, and I felt the wall move, and I was like, "What the?" I turned around, and it was somebody's painting, and luckily it was dry. So,
Right.
so I just kind of looked around, took a sip of my drink, and just kind of kept moving. But yeah, it was like an art walk kind of a thing. So people were displaying their art and listening to really bad pop punk music at the same time.
So, what was the audience like at this here gig?
Well, it started out fairly non-existent, and then we when we ended our set, there was even less people. It probably was the poorest attended show I've ever played, and I've played some pretty poorly attended shows. This one didn't even have the luxury of like the other bands being there. There was one point right before we started to play too, where there was like I say drove, but I mean like 5 or 6 like elderly people walk in.
I believe the elderly travel in droves.
yeah. You seldom see them by themselves. I just see like a sea of like gray curly hair coming in, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be interesting. And also just before that too, there was some like maybe middle to late 40s or 50s age women just sitting there, and I'm like tinkering around on Tyler's drum kit. And I start playing a gallop beat, and they like plug their ears and look at me with like a dirty look. And I'm like, "Oh, you ladies have no idea. It's gonna get way louder than that." So I was pretty stoked. I was hoping one old person would love In Our Time, but they didn't seem to be into it.
How did the gig go?
Pretty bad. Well, yeah. Well, it was good in some ways. Like, I mean, I'm not really. I just enjoy playing music, so sometimes when shows like that are just weird and poorly attended, sometimes they're funny.
Right.
If I was a touring band and I was relying on it to be paid, it would probably be a big bummer.
Merch sales were not at their all-time high?
No, I don't think we sold a single item of merch. But, well, we played all our songs, they were all good. We didn't mess up or any of those things. So the old people got the good version In Our Time.
Any old people start to boogie, or?
I was kind of hoping some old people would start, slam dancing or circle picking. But it was kind of funny because they started a good solid 20 feet from us, kind of in the back looking. But as soon as you started playing, you noticed them disperse to the left and the right. And then they started like going around us. And then pretty soon we were playing to like 2 of our friends. Yeah, it was really interesting.
Huh.
On the plus side, we sometimes do some like banter back and forth in between songs.
Right.
We were probably the most on like snappy comebacks, snappy, sayings and that kind of thing.
Anything stand out or?
No, we did have an ongoing joke about Back to the Future that kind of just kept going, and people were laughing too, which is also odd of an Our Time show. They usually don't laugh at our jokes. We usually say them. It's just dead quiet.
Yeah,
and
tumbleweeds.
And then we just awkwardly start playing, and then we're like, well, here's our next song. It's called Burdens. Yeah, so it was interesting.
Anything happen after you plow through your set?
Well, we plowed through our set. The library, I guess you call her the head librarian. She's kind of like a middle-aged, like married punk rock woman. She has like dyed hair and everything, and she kept kind of mocking us, like by telling us that we weren't a punk band. And I could tell immediately that she's one of these punk rockers who, if it doesn't sound like Rancid, it's not punk.
Right.
So, anyways, I did make the joke that we were going to play Maxwell Murder. And she got all excited, and then I was like, I'm just kidding.
Probably ruined her night.
Yeah, no, she legitimately looked excited, like, oh, wow, this is great. And I was like, no, we're not really fans of Rancid. And then what was also funny is we actually did get paid, not in currency. However, we got paid in chips, or half-eaten bags of chips. So we got to take home 2 half-eaten chip bags and a case of Blue Moons.
Nice.
I don't drink, so when we were presented with this, I awkwardly was like, guess I'll take the chips.
Very nice, very nice.
But the most interesting show I've ever played. It was weird. It was just weird.
Overall, a successful show?
As far as In Our Time standards go, yes, it was a very successful In Our Time show.
Well, I guess until the next library gig.
If I could choose, I wouldn't want to play in the library again. I would have preferred to play to more of a punk crowd instead of old art lovers.
Well, I mean, the librarian, she sounded pretty punk rock.
Right.
Up in the punks and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm just bummed we weren't more Rancid like for her. Good old Rancid.
Right on. All right, I think that's going to be a wrap.
Cool. Thank you for having me. In my own room.
Yeah, thanks for being here.